Hello, welcome to Federal Sector Watch, a new podcast I'm starting to watch developments in the federal sector under the incoming Trump administration. Today's topic is bracing for the Trump 47 tsunami. I'm Eric Masters. I'm a professor of business, commentator, and podcaster. You can find me at the noted email address and on my YouTube channel. Trump 47 federal sector program will be driven by broader concerns about bureaucratic unresponsiveness and incompetence. It is embedded in a comprehensive effort to reorganize and downsize the federal footprint in policy, regulation, personnel, which includes appointments and civil service, budget, and facilities. This effort is led by the co-chairs of the Ad Hoc Department on Government Efficiency, Elon Musk and Vivek Ramaswamy, and the incoming head of the Office of Management and Budget, Rush Vaught, from Trump 45, and designated congressional leaders. It's also informed by conservative-based think tanks. Is past prologue? If past is prologue, then we can expect to see Trump 47 reinstitute some of the executive orders it did in its first term as applied to the federal sector, and these would include Executive Order 13836, 13837, 13839, and 13957. A little bit more about each of these just as a review. Executive Order 13836 provided for developing efficient, effective, and cost-reducing approaches to federal sector collective bargaining. It wanted to secure that agencies in negotiating collective bargaining agreements did so in a manner that promotes an effective and efficient means of accomplishing agency missions, and this included streamlining and expediting the process of collective bargaining. Executive Order 13837, ensuring transparency, accountability, and efficiency in taxpayer-funded union time. This was basically an effort on the part of the Trump administration 45 to reduce the amount of official time that was used to represent workers on union business. Agencies would be required to ensure that taxpayer-funded union time is used efficiently and authorized in amounts that are reasonable, necessary, and in the public interest. Executive Order 13839, promoting accountability and streamlining removal procedures consistent with the merit system principles. This basically wanted to streamline and expedite the process of removing unacceptable performers by expanding managerial authorities and reducing the extent to which unions may use the grievance procedure to stymie these disciplinary actions. Executive Order 13957 on creating a separate Schedule F, which would include employees in positions of confidential policy determining or policy making, policy advocating character, more accountable to the president and less subject to the civil service protections. Trump 47 federal sector focus in broad strokes is on government reform and reorganization, perhaps the most massive effort proposed along these lines since Nixon's in the early 1970s. An emphasis on managerial prerogatives and rights and cost reductions. Each of these goes hand in glove with the others. There is an important court ruling out there, along with the court ruling overturning the Chevron decision, which affects the powers of the presidency with regard to regulations. And it was involved in the SpaceX versus National Labor Relations Board decision, which was decided at a federal district court in the Southern District of Texas. And it held that the statutes, regulatory provisions, guidance, and our policies restricting the removal of National Labor Relations Board administrative law judges and members was unconstitutional. It did not provide enough authority for the president to remove such officials. And the upshot of this, if it's upheld by the Supreme Court, is that presidents will have greater authority to remove members of the NLRB board and administrative law judges than they currently do under existing practice now. The policies that are likely to unfold, as well as various other actions undertaken by the Trump 47 administration, include identify and nullify provisions of labor agreements that violate existing laws and managerial prerogatives, prohibit management from negotiating permissive items, limit the use of official time, simplify and expedite the process of disciplining and dismissing employees for misconduct, expand the scope of federal employees that operate under the direct authority of the president under a Schedule F type of an arrangement, and also has been reported from spokespersons at the Department of Government Efficiency, mandate and return to office policies. Federal sector personnel agency appointments and budgets, you can expect perhaps the following: remove and replace selected current members of the Federal Labor Relations Authority and the Merit Systems Protection Board, terminate and replace members of the Federal Services Impasses Panel, appoint a new person to the Office of General Counsel of the Federal Labor Relations Authority, move and replace current occupants of the Office of the Special Counsel of the Merit Systems Protection Board, reduce funding authorization for the Federal Labor Relations Authority, Merit Systems Protection Board, and the Office of Personnel Management, and across federal departments and agencies, reduce funding for labor relations, human resource, employee relations, and diversity, equity, and inclusion functions. In terms of reorganizing and downsizing, the express goal of the Department of Government Efficiency is to reduce federal spending over time by about $2 trillion. This is a time of perhaps the term of one presidential administration. In that vein, close departments and agencies, including the Department of Education, perhaps the National Endowments for the Arts, the Corporation of Public Broadcasting, and National Endowment for Democracy. And I also suspect that they will realign priorities and functions in agencies to reduce staffing and costs, which would include such independent agencies as the Internal Revenue Service, Environmental Protection Agency, Securities and Exchange Commission, Federal Communications Commission, Federal Trade Commission, National Labor Relations Board, and the Departments of Justice, Health and Human Services, Homeland Security, Transportation, Defense, and Labor. In addition, there may be changes in federal pay and benefits recommended as part of this broader efficiency initiative, and I would suspect that they would tie pay more closely to performance, more rigidly enforce performance standards to ensure that more employees that are evaluated are given lower ratings and subject to some sort of discipline or removal. And also you would expect efforts to reduce federal retirement liabilities. A little bit about myself from this, my academic background, the research that I'm currently working on. I'm a professor of business emeritus, and I am the former director of labor at Wayne and the chair of the accountings and finance departments at the Mikulich School of Business. Thank you. I hope you enjoyed this episode and stay tuned for more.